Right now, we are about to start our testing on the silicate salt cells that I'm hoping are not permanently damaged. We are going through the same test routine as we used on the Lion battery. It's that 150 watt electric heater, and we're going to just time it, see what it's doing, and monitor the voltage and see what kind of output we get. These batteries are Bolt Ultra silicate salt, 150 amp hour. So the silicate salt battery is supposed to be able to go all the way down to 0% without damage, provided you charge it right back up. Now, any battery you leave at zero is going to suffer damage, especially if it's left there for extended periods. And that's what ended up happening with this specific battery. The two below it were not so unfortunate. However, they all suffered similar issues. So we are going to test and see, because my friend who initially tested this said that he just put a large draw on it and it just fell flat on its face. So we're gonna see what she does and monitor the voltage. She should probably be sitting, I think, right around 13 volts fully charged, but 12.8. I don't know that that's terrible right now. Resting voltage, that, let's see, 20. So yeah, let's see. This is going to be 150 watts, so we're talking a 12.5 amp load. And this is a fairly big battery. So I'm honestly, let's see, we just kicked it on. And it is 449, so 450 essentially. And holy cow, that is dropping down quick, isn't it? So I don't know that this battery is going to have a whole lot of oomph in it. So set a timer for 15 minutes and we'll just check it probably every 15 minutes or so, because this heater is not putting out a whole lot of oomph. It's actually kind of feeling fairly weak. And to drop on such a is, I feel like this is a rather insignificant load for a battery of this capacity. 150 amp hours, putting a 12 amp draw on it. Oh man, I feel like that's quite a drop. So it's not looking super promising. So we'll come back in a few minutes and see what she does and go from there. All right, stay tuned. Okay, we're 15 minutes down, and she's holding tight around 12.27 volts, which is pretty low voltage rating. 12.2 is typically considered dead based upon my understanding. So we're not quite dead, but we're getting really close. At least I think 12.2 is that 50% mark. I don't know. I will maybe do a little bit of research on that in between now and the next section, but it's only been 15 minutes and I reset the timer. However, I did make a phone call in those 15 minutes, and I talked to Ian over at Watts 24/7, and what he said was, before we just count this battery out, if we put it on a sustained high voltage charge for a little while, so like a 14.4, 14.5 volts, and let it sit at a low amperage, just that high volt for maybe a couple days or so, just kind of monitor it and see, watch the actual voltage of the battery itself, but have it set to that higher absorption rate essentially, that it might wake the battery up. Like, we might have a good opportunity to bring it back to life. So I am going to try to get set up to do that with this battery, because this is just much lower output than I expected. Sorry, I smell something that smells burning, so I just like burning electronics or something like that. And this heater didn't smell like that before, but it kind of smells like it is a little bit, and it's not so much a burning electronics smell entirely as much as, I mean, it's a heater, electric heater, so I think that's the smell I was smelling. But I'm just being candid here. I'm showing you what I'm doing as I'm doing it. I'm not editing it out, trying to make it perfect or anything like that. So this was our battery that did not test well. So now that I've spoke with Ian and he suggested that, I'm already in the middle of this, so I'm going to go ahead and finish this out. I think I'll do a little bit of research on where we want to take this, but I think 12.2 flat might be our baseline. I'm hoping to get an hour of runtime out of this at minimum, because honestly 150 watt hours out of a battery this size is not impressive at all. I mean, that's a little over 10 amp hours of usable storage, and that is not at all impressive. And I guarantee that these other two below it are going to kick the crap out of this battery. But I'll go ahead and get voltage curves, and on the next video in 15 minutes I'll let you know what I found out. Alright guys, see you in a moment. Alright guys, so I have done a little bit of research, and we've skipped over nearly an hour. It's been an hour and 15 minutes since we started the test, and I just wanted to give you a quick update of where we're at and let you know I did look up the voltage curve of a typical AGM, which my understanding is these typically fall within the voltage curve of a standard AGM. So 50% depth of discharge is what I was specifically talking about around that 12.2 volts. I was wrong. It's not 12.2 volts. It's about 12.05 volts is right about 50% exactly. So 12 volts flat is a little under that 50%. Now, a standard AGM lead acid type battery, that's as far as you want to go, is 50%. But because these are silicate cells, we can actually take these guys down, I believe, to about 10% remaining capacity, 90% depth of discharge. 80% is kind of my target. So 80% depth of discharge, 20% remaining, is around 11.6 and 6.5, 11.7 volts or so. And I would not run a standard AGM down that depth. And in fact, I think for this test, we're going to go, our target is around 12 volts. I skipped the last two 15-minute periods, obviously, or three. I mean, we're an hour and 15 minutes into this test now. In fact, my alarm's going off in 8 seconds. So I came back and checked it, 15-minute increments, twice, and it was looking good. So I figured there's no point in wasting your time. There's my alarm. Just reset it. So this is the results of an hour and 15 minutes into this test at 150 watt draw. Let's take a look. We are officially over 150 watt hours, and we are at 12.17 volts, which I believe off of the charge curve is like 65% capacity. So we'll take, I think we're going to target 12 volts flat. And we're going to see what she gives us off of that and calculate that as a little over 50%. So ultimately we should get 75 amp hours if this thing was 100%. We're not going to do that. I guarantee it. An hour and 15 minutes, and we've gone from 12.28 as an average draw power down to 12.15. At 150 watts, which is just over 12.5 amps or so. So I am going to take a wild guess and say that we're going to get about another hour of runtime out of this before we hit that 12 volt mark. At which point I think I'm going to call this test, and then I'm going to throw this battery back on the charger, get it charged back up, and then I'm going to try that absorption that Ian over at Watts 24/7 recommended. At At that point, once this is done, once we're done testing this one, and I start that absorption, I think we will go ahead and go to the next battery in line and check it out. So if we can get close to the rated capacity on these, I'm going to be happy. This one I can almost guarantee is going to be the worst of the three based upon the testing that we've already done. So anyways, I will be back and check it in 15 minutes, and if it's literally the same, then we'll skip that and go to the next 15 minutes, so that way I'm not wasting your guys' time. Alright guys, so we are at 2.5 hours, and right before I turned on the camera, this was at 12 volts flat. So I'm going to call this test at 50% depth of discharge. We are almost to the minute at 2.5 hours. We're 4 minutes away from 2.5 hours. 7:25. 7:29 would be 2 hours and 30 minutes. So unfortunately, that is only 375 watt hours worth of power draw. So I just kicked the high draw off on there. That's now under a almost no load situation. That's just the fan to cool the heater down before I turn it off. So let's see. That's off. Yeah, and no change. So 12 volts theoretically is about, I mean, as per AGM batteries, non-silicate salt, 12 volts is 50% depth of discharge. So that's kind of what we're going to use our calculations based upon. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and throw this back on a regular charger, which will take it up to about 14 volts. And then I'm going to try what Ian said to do to try to recondition this guy to set it on essentially a power supply where I have it set at kind of a bulk absorption around 14.5 volts or so, and leave it at a low amperage at that rate for, I don't know, maybe a couple days. We'll see what she does, how she reacts, we'll monitor it, and then we'll do a review on that afterwards. But I'm going to go ahead and test those other two batteries, and since it's essentially all the same stuff as this, I might put the absorption and recovery of this battery all in this one video, and then I might do those ones separate. We'll see. But that is essentially the conclusion of this test. We're approximately 370 watt hours of usable capacity, 375 at 50 amp hours, or sorry, 50% depth of discharge, which comes out to 750 watt hours. I mean, we're talking that this battery is somewhere in the ballpark of 50 to 55 amp hours of usable capacity right now. So that's 1/3 of its rated capacity. That is not very good. So let's see if we can get it to come back at all, and I'll keep you updated on that. We'll show you as we go on there. So if you like the video, hit the like button, subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. And if you have any comments, go ahead and drop them down below in the comment section, and I will respond to those, and we'll go ahead and get set up and ready for the next video. Hopefully this video was educational for you. Go ahead and stay tuned. We'll have more content coming soon. Have a good one, guys. See ya. Okay,